Oh hey there, I'm Liv and welcome back to my channel Endless Pages. Today's video, as you saw in the title, is my reading wrap up for the month of May. So although I did not successfully complete my TBR, I still had a great reading month. I read 9 books, 1 I read audio and 3 of them were manga. So I had a really good reading month and I'm excited to tell you guys about what I read. First up, I did a reread to start off the month. This is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I am participating in the Red Queen read-along. I will link that announcement video in the description below if you guys want to participate in it. It's a great readathon. I have never reread this book. This is a book that I love so much. I've never reread, I haven't even reread this one before this month. So I'm really excited to be going back to one of my favorite series, and it's definitely, after rereading it, it definitely still is a favorite book. Like it's held up because I did read this like years ago, and it's still that level of love. Like I can still see why I love this series so much. You know how like you go back and reread a book when you're older and you're like, like this isn't like, you know, this hasn't aged well, or like my taste has changed. Completely the opposite. I still see why I rated this book so highly. I mean, for me, you just can't go wrong with that typical dystopian plot that I love. Like, you know, we have 2 groups of people, one group is treated as lesser, and we have a bit of an uprising, and one lone person kind of sparks it. So I love that whole plot. I will read anything that has anything to do with that kind of plot line that you typically see in dystopians. So I think that's why, well, one of the reasons why I love this book so much. And just the characters of Maven and Cal and her dynamics with those two in the books is so fascinating. And just that reliving that shock ending, the like, I won't say spoilers, but that shock ending that happens with that certain character that you just like takes you completely by surprise. This book is full of so many fun twists and turns, and just to see shifting alliances and all that interesting stuff, and all like the world building around the powers, and the different family groups have different powers. And just like, yeah, the world building in this book is incredible as well. So yeah, I think I love this book so much because there's great characters, great character development, but great world building at the same time. So it's a great story and great characters. So a great combination. Yeah, I loved this so much. So I had the best time rereading this book, and I was kind of dirty that I made it my first read of the month, because then I had to wait so long because I wanted to jump straight into Glass Sword, the sequel, but I couldn't because I was going to properly participate and read the books when everyone else was. So I was kind of dirty at myself for starting the month off with this read, but I'm so excited that I can finally jump into Glass Sword. Yeah, so then I read A Cruel Crown, the novella. This is sad, man. I forgot how sad the story Queensong is, and Queensong is about a character that's spoken about that's not, it's not a spoiler, it's a character that's not alive, and she's spoken about in this book. She's Cal and a character called Cal's mother, and it's, oh my god, it's so good. It's really heavy though. You just kind of see her like her mental state and kind of read from this character's diaries throughout certain events that happen. I know that's very not well said, but I don't want to spoil it. So yeah, that was like, oh my god, that was really heavy. And yeah, and then the second story is, what's it called, Still Scars. Yeah, and that one's like still good, but not as good. Like nowhere near as good as Queensong. Like Queensong is the best story in this novella. And yeah, I get teary. Even though I've read it before, I still got teary reading it because it's heavy. So yeah, I would still rate both of these books 5 stars. And I'm excited to continue with my reread. Next up, I read Spy Family Volume 1 and Spy Family Volume 2. Oh my god, this novella is so cute and heartwarming. I would say it's kind of like found family trope. It is, oh, it makes me so happy, and it like puts a massive grin on my face. It's, yeah. So we have this guy, Twilight, he's a spy. He has to infiltrate this school on a mission. To do so, he has to create a little fake family to be able to get into the school. So he adopts this little girl who he doesn't realize is a telepath, and his wife that he marries doesn't realize that she's an assassin, so creates all these like silly, goofy kind of behind the scenes, and characters don't realize, and they're just doing all this like sneaky shit behind each other's back, and no one just has the awareness of what's going on, so it's that goofy kind of fun. But at the same time, there's really fun like little action scenes, because it is still like a spy story. Yeah, this warms my heart so much. I'm having such the best time reading it, and volume 3 is on my June TBR, so I'm so excited. I want to get volume 4, but I can't seem to find it anywhere, so yeah, these are really, 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 really cute. So cute. It is kind of a little bit of a slow-paced story. Like, this is obviously just kind of setting up the family, and then we kind of start the mission in this book. And yeah, it's a slow story, but it's still great, and really cool action scenes and the most heartwarming, beautiful moments of family. So 5 stars. Next up, I read The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. So this is for a separate reading vlog that God knows when that's going to come out. My God. I do themed reading vlogs apparently very slowly, so this is going to be in one of those vlogs, so I won't talk about it too much, because then what's the point of watching the vlog. But I rated this 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I will go into much greater detail in my reading vlog. So next up, I read an interesting book, and not interesting in a good way. That is This Is Not the Jess Show by Anna Carey. I hated this book. I really did not have a good time with this book. So this book is set in 1998, and we follow a girl called Jess, who is a high school student. And Jess, you just has this normal life. She's like every other, you know, girl her age. You follow her family. She's got a sister who's quite ill, and she's got like 2 best friends, and this guy that she's starting to fall for. And then one day she's at school, and this weird like black device falls out of her friend's pocket, even though it's 1998, and the friend can't really explain. She just kind of like brushes it off. Anyway, and then Jess starts to notice really weird things that's going on in her life. So the back describes it as Black Mirror meets My So-Called Life. So it's basically just like a rewritten, crappier version of The Truman Show. So if you don't know, The Truman Show is this movie from 1998, which is the year the book is set in, starring Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey's character is named Truman, and it's about Truman realizing that his whole world is fake. Everyone involved in his life and around him is an actor. He's the only real person. He is the star of a reality show that he had no idea that he was. He thought it was just his life. Anyway, everyone must watch that movie. It's like one of my favorite movies. Fantastic. So it's almost like the author watched that movie and was like, I'm going to make my own version of that, but just made it crappier. Pretty much, yeah. That's like that's how I could describe it. This Is Not the Jess Show is not at all clever. It's almost not clever like The Truman Show. The Truman Show is so clever and well done, and this is just boring. You're basically just following her around in her boring ass life. Like, if I wanted to read, you know, an average day person's life, like, no, that's not what I want to say. I don't want to read about boring crap, because that's reality, that's life. I want to read about creativity and amazing stuff. I don't want to follow this girl around high school. Like, that's not interesting. And her, you know, have a crush on one of her friends, and she has drama with her girlfriends, and like, it's just boring. And like, she like discovers 2 weird things, like the iPhone, and then I can't remember else. There was something else that like kind of tipped her off, that like something wasn't right. And then her like this is a kind of a spoiler. You know what? Skip this part if you want to read this book. I'll put a little time zone up. But basically her sister, like the actor that plays her sister, is suddenly like, I'll tell you everything, it's all a lie, blah blah blah, and just like blurted the whole truth out to her. So there was no build up or anticipation, there was no investigation, there was no like awareness and that like sickening realization that your life is, you know, fake. It was just like very sudden and not at all done cleverly. It was just like, yeah, your life's a lie. And then so that was not at all satisfying to read. Yeah, the writing is cringy, the conversations they're having are cringy. They tried to kind of make a clever like social commentary ending with how it ended, and I was sort of able to appreciate how it was kind of done in the end. In the final like big scene, I kind of could appreciate the commentary, but I think it was more clever than she thought. It was less clever than she thought it was. It's just like a poor man's version of The Truman Show. It's basically just she watched that and then sat down and write a book as she watched the film. This book is crap. I rated it 2 stars. The writing's crap. The story's crap. It's just, yeah, poor man's The Truman Show. If you'd want to read, because I love the idea of this book, and that's why I picked it up, because I love The Truman Show, that whole idea that, you know, what if your reality isn't real? Like, what if your life is not what you thought it was? So yeah, just watch The Truman Show instead. I rated this 2 stars. I hated every second of it. I cannot believe I read it all the way through. The ending was kind of alright, but then I went and saw on Goodreads that there was a sequel, and I was like, no, that just ruins the whole point of the ending. Like, it didn't need to have a sequel. Yeah, it was really bad. I hated it. The next book I read this month is one that I am still so conflicted about how I feel about it. So that is The Gentleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks, the 3rd and final book in the Montagu siblings trilogy, which is basically a historical fiction trilogy, pirate fun, fast-paced adventure while covering serious topics at the same time. So this book, I was expecting to do the same, cover heavy, interesting, important topics, while at the same time having that fun, crazy, unrealistic, fast-paced pirate adventure. Everyone gets into trouble and, you know, all that fun stuff. That's not what this book was. This book felt, even though, trigger warning, the first book I believe does cover like topics like abuse, this book just felt like the heaviest out of all 3. So this is about the youngest Montagu sibling. We're just getting to know him because he was younger in the first 2 books, and now we've kind of skipped ahead of time and we're getting him as he's kind of entering adulthood. But you're hearing his inner thoughts, which is really like, it's interesting, and I feel like it's a great way to be able to get to know the character and really connect with the character and feel what the character's feeling. So I could appreciate it for that, but it was like, it was heavy. Like, I had to take breaks from this book. In the author's note, yeah, she said the main character, she took some of kind of the behavior and symptoms from, yeah, generalized anxiety disorder and some obsessive compulsive tendencies. So I mean, I can't talk from experience, but it seemed like great representation in terms of his thoughts and his thoughts about himself and that anxiety and how that kind of manifested in all of the different situations that he was in, and like the social situations, and that the thoughts telling him that everyone was judging him or it was messing up, and that every situation he would just think of all the things that could go wrong. So like, that was a great representation to see how his mind was working and how he reacted to different situations. But it was heavy, like it was constant, like, and it was constant, like, you know, negative thoughts about himself. So yeah, it was quite a lot to get through. And the reason I'm so like, the reason why my feelings towards this book are so conflicted is because it was not what I was expecting it to be. And I was expecting it to be like a fun, fast-paced pirate, crazy final adventure to finish off the series. And it really wasn't. It was really slow-paced. But it was not a bad thing that it wasn't that. Like, I still think that this was a fantastic book because of the mental health representation and the, I guess you follow, I don't think I said this, the main character is Adrian. You follow Adrian on his journey to find out stuff about, can't say, it's a spoiler. You follow him on a journey, he wants to find some certain information about something. And yeah, he obviously, you hear his anxiety and stuff like that. And putting himself in this situation is honestly terrifying for him. And you see him grow and develop and become less reliant on other people and more independent and confident, but at the same time it's not like he suddenly cured himself, because that's not how mental illness works. So it was a great way of him learning to, I guess, know that he was able to live with it, and that he could be a functioning person and live with it, and learning to understand that this was always going to be a part of his life. So like, that was done really, really, really well. I was just disappointed that it wasn't the pirate adventure that I wanted it to be. There was still some pirate stuff. There was still plenty of ships and adventure and danger. It was just not what I wanted it to be. And like, there were certain characters that only popped up and were gone, and then only came back at the end. And then there were certain characters that were introduced that I was really starting to like, new characters, and I was like, cool, they can come along the adventure, but they didn't, and they just kind of, again, they're at the start and the end. One of the characters was like his fiance, and I understood why she wasn't part of the story, because he needed to do it alone, and it was important that he did it without her. So I can see why she wasn't along with the journey. I just wanted it to be one final big adventure with the whole new little found family slash friendship slash family group doing fun, crazy pirate stuff, getting into trouble. But it really wasn't that. It was really slow paced, heavy, kind of bonding and working through trauma and mental health. And yeah, I rated it 4 stars because I did all of that stuff so well. Just wasn't what I wanted it to be, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's my confusing thoughts on this book. It was really good though. I don't know, it was really good. So then my second reread for the month was Vampire Academy, the first book in the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead. I'm slowly doing a reread of this whole series. I'm attempting to maybe do at least one book a month or every second month, because it's not really a priority, but I thought I would get going and start off. This book, yeah, I didn't enjoy it actually. I can see why High School Me enjoyed it, but I really didn't enjoy it. We follow main character Rose, and Rose is really like immature, and she's really like arrogant, and I mean, I can see why I like her character. She doesn't like shit from people. She stands up for herself. I do like that. But then she takes it too far, and she's very arrogant and cruel and so judgmental of other people, and just seems to get a kick out of like taking people down because it brings her up in the social circles. That's her whole world in this book, is the importance of you know, like getting back into the social circles and being popular. Like, as a 23-year-old, I don't really want to read about that. That's boring as hell. Most of this book is the silly drama of high school and the beefs and the attacks that they take on each other, like verbal attacks. So that was really cringy. The writing was really cringy. The only reason I want to continue this series is because I know it gets better. I know as we go on, the books get a little bit more adult, and we focus less on the high school and more on the actual world building, because this whole world with Morai and Dampiers and the different types of vampires and their guardians is so interesting, and I feel like it's really great world building. This book was just setting it up and teaching us, you know, who's who and all of that kind of stuff. And I know that now that I've gotten through this book, it can only get better from here. But yeah, this book was cringy. Yeah, it wasn't good. I'm sure my reviews will get better as I continue on through the series. Finally, I read another manga, Blue Exorcist Volume 1. Oh my god, this was so good. This story was right up my alley. So yeah, it's basically about this boy called Rin, who is raised by this guy called Father Fujimoto, is that his name? Yeah. And then they have an argument one day, and Rin realizes that he's the bastard son of Satan. And then he pledges to become an exorcist himself, so he has to go to this academy called True Cross Academy to learn to be an exorcist. When drawing his father's sword, it releases the demonic energy within him. I love this story. It's so good. The art style is absolutely gorgeous. Like, the design of True Cross Academy is so visually appealing. Like, the characters are so all like very like well designed, and you can see their personality really reflected in their clothing, which I really like. Yeah, so you basically follow Rin as he starts off at True Cross Academy. You also follow Rin's twin brother, who I really like. He's really interesting. Him and Rin have like total opposite personalities, which creates quite a funny, interesting dynamic. And then there's a character that can turn into a little Scotty dog, and it's so cute. I think it's meant to be a Scotty dog. Tell me if I'm wrong on the breed. I think it's meant to be a Scotty dog. It's cute. So yeah, I really liked this. This was a great start. Really set it up super well and has really super caught my attention. I read the blurb for what's going to happen in volume 2 and I'm like super intrigued. I really love the character of Rin because he is, like I said, the bastard son of Satan, and he is very quick to anger, but at the same time you can see that it comes from such a caring and empathetic place. You can tell that he really cares about people and he genuinely wants to help people. And he's super, like, you can tell he's super kind-hearted, so I love that, because that kind of, complete, like, opposite of being a demon and his hothead kind of personality, but it's really coming from a good place. So yeah, I thought this was super cute. The art style is so cool. Yeah, so far I'm absolutely loving it. I gave this 5 stars and I need to go to the shops immediately, even though I'm kind of on a book buying ban, and buy all of the other volumes. So there we have it. These are all the books I read in the month of June. Quite a successful reading month. Very interesting mix of books and very interesting mix of opinions on these books. Yeah, I had a good reading month. Not too shabby of a reading month. So thank you so much for watching my reading wrap up. Let me know in the comments, how did your May reading month go? What was your favourite book you read? How many books did you get read? I would love to know. As always, all my social media links are in the description below, and I will see you in whatever video I post next. Bye!